Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Panzer Corps II, an upcoming turn-based strategy and wargame by Slytherin and Matrix Games that is coming out on March 19th of this year. It is a sneak peek. This is episode number 6 in our Let's Play series playing through this game. We are taking a different tact, so we had fought and lost the battle driving toward the channel in our last episode, and now we're rewinding back to the invasion of France again, but from the Belgian and Low Countries invasion, not driving through the Ardennes through Sedan and flanking the enemy, but driving head-on in the frontal assault that was meant to divert and lure Allied forces into Belgium so the Germans could sweep in behind them and cut them off. And that's the battle that you're going to be looking at here. We went back and restarted the campaign from Norway. Originally, we were given a choice. We were given the choice to fight the Battle of Sedan, which is the drive through the Ardennes and then to the coast, or you were given the choice to launch the frontal attack through Belgium, sort of the diversionary attack that would draw the British and French into Belgium, and then the Germans would come down below Sedan, cut the enemy off, and drive them into the sea. That was the concept of the campaign. Well, in this case, we're going to be fighting the frontal attack. So the other scenario that we didn't see last time was the drive through Belgium toward the coast in northern Belgium, so the drive on Antwerp and Brussels. And so that's what we're going to see here today. So that's this battle. I already made my reinforcement decisions and other things like that off camera, so I can't show you the briefing without restarting and undoing all of that. So with that being said, I'll just kind of describe it. This scenario starts off with forces along a river line here along the Belgian border. You're going to be driving through Luxembourg and then also toward, or is that? I guess those are parts of no, those are Holland. Sorry, through Holland and Belgium. The key to this campaign is the fact that you're going to be driving over multiple defensive river lines. So the first line is going to be the river line along the Meuse. So the Belgians have a strong fortress at Ibn Amal, and they also have troops at Liege. So it's essentially, this is going to be attacking, rather than mobile warfare, this is going to be attacking a series of defensive positions that are based on rivers. And this game does a very good job of showing how important rivers are. If you attack across a bridge hex, you're better off. But if you try and attack directly across a river, you really get penalized. You really get hit hard. And so in this battle, we're going to be attacking multiple fixed enemy positions along the Meuse River, and then another one along the Dial River, and then the Seine near Brussels would probably be the last one we have to overcome, because there is another river in the Dedener, but that's behind the line there. So essentially, we've got to cross 3 river lines that are all fortified here that the enemy is positioning the forces along. Whoa. So we're going to be launching that offensive. Now, the game is giving us 2 units that are not part of our core forces, so these aren't guys that we actually carry through battle to battle, but there's 2 paratrooper units, the 1st and 16th false jumpers, which are actually already located near Ibn Amal, and they will be used to allow us to get in behind this fortification and breach this first line along the Meuse more easily. So first things first, I've already set up my forces here off map, so let's go ahead and deploy them. We have almost maxed out our forces. We can have up to 55 core slots filled. We have 53, so we've got a little bit of slack, but not much. We don't have any prestige left because I spent it all. Instead of using elite reinforcements, I did use green reinforcements, so my experience of my units is a little bit less. Some of these guys were 2 stars, and now they're 1. But generally speaking, I've still got a pretty reasonably experienced group of soldiers here. The troops that lose no casualties obviously get more experience. One other thing I did is I overstrengthed our existing fighter unit here, the 12th BF-109s, and then we also bought and overstrengthed the 19th BF-109. So we bought a second fighter unit, we overstrengthed it to 15, and then we overstrengthed our previous unit to 12. So you can actually do that when you go ahead and when you buy a unit, you can choose to overstrength it. So the standard strength, for example, of infantry is 15. I can overstrength it up to 20, and then you can see it bumps up extra cost. But it basically is the idea of you're building a reinforced battalion instead of a battalion, or a division that maybe has heavy armor attached to it, a brigade or regiment of heavy armor attached to it to complement those strengths. So we overstrength our air units here to 15, and then the one other unit that we already had, we overstrengthed it to 12. and that's kind of where we spent all of our money. So with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and deploy our forces. First things first is I'm going to deploy my air forces, because that's easy enough. There's only one air base for me to deploy, so as a reminder, if you haven't seen this before, because this game isn't out yet, it comes out on March 19th, air forces are tied to air bases in Panzer Corps II. So unlike Panzer Corps I, where you could deploy them and fly them wherever you wanted, and you just had to return to an air base every once in a while to refuel, you are permanently linked to whatever air base you are based out of. You can rebase your air units, so you can move them around throughout the course of a battle, but essentially at the end of every single day, your air units will return to the base that they are based out of, and that's kind of a nice little, much more, in my opinion, realistic approach to how units are based. Okay, so now it comes to basing our ground units. Now, I'm going to have sort of my general strategy is going to be two thrusts. I'm going to have my main thrust in the south here at Liege, and we're going to be driving on Liege. We'll drive across the Meuse River on a frontal assault on Liege, then drive across this second river here, the Dial, and frontally assault Brussels. Well, we'll probably break a small detachment out to move south here toward Maybourg. As we're passing Liege, we'll also bring a few units south here to deal with Namur, and we may move one armored unit on the southern bank of the Meuse here to drive directly on Namur. So this is going to probably be 75 to 90% of our strength, just basically frontally bashing through these river lines with heavy artillery and Air Force support. We are going to deploy one mobile artillery unit up here in the north, as well as one infantry and one armored unit. They're going to cross the Meuse near Roermond, and then their primary goal is just going to be driving straight along this open plain with no rivers toward Antwerp. I'm making the assumption that since there's no objective up here, there will not be any substantial resistance between the northern part of the Meuse River and Antwerp. I don't know if those units will be strong enough to take Antwerp, but frankly, an armored unit and an infantry unit and an artillery unit, if we need, we can divert air forces to the north as well to crush Antwerp easily. But I think that's about all the force I want to divert. So we'll put an infantry and armor, artillery, and we'll drive across the plain in the north on Antwerp, and we'll see what's there. And if that doesn't go well, we can always detach, as we're taking Brussels and we detach one unit toward Malberg, once Brussels falls, we can always swing north with our main force if that doesn't work. So that's the approach we're going to go with here. So let's go ahead and let's start deploying our forces. Let's go with I have a mountain unit with trucks. Probably should have picked a better unit to give trucks. Anyway, let's go ahead and put a grenadier unit up here in the north in the lead. Then we'll go ahead and put our one mobile Sturmpanzer, so our self-propelled artillery up here in the north. And then we're also going to put one of our armored units here, the 4th Panzer, in the north. All of our armor is Panzer 38s, so they are Czech-made Skoda tanks, some of Germany's best tanks early in the war, despite the fact that they weren't actually of German origin. All right, so I think all of my troops are either mountain troops. I don't think I actually have any pioneer troops, which would be more ideal for crossing rivers because they allow you to bridge rivers. But since we don't have any of that, we're going to go ahead and deploy our sort of our heavy infantry up here. We'll put one heavy infantry in front of each city. I'm going to cross the Meuse, or the Maas, and then the Meuse up here near Maastricht. So we're going to kind of go one thrust in this main thrust to the north of Liege, one directly on Liege. So go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and set up our armored fist here, a strong armored fist in the south. Then we'll bring our artillery into position here. Actually, I didn't want that artillery there. I want to put them on the roadway. Clicked the wrong button. All right, so we're just kind of clumping up at the bottom here. Okay, so all of our troops are deployed. We don't have any extra money. We don't have any extra slots. So now is the time to go ahead and end the deployment phase and move into the battle. We have 20 turns on this battle. So that's what we have to choose from. Hey, Llewellyn, thank you for the follow. So we have 20 turns from which to achieve our objectives. Getting across the river quickly and effectively will be important. Utopia, I did not replay the one that I lost last night, the game, so I loaded the Norway save to go back and replay Sedan and then the drive on the channel, but the game threw us into the frontal attack on Belgium and the southern part of Holland on our own. Like, I didn't choose this. It forced me down the other path of that branching scenario tree. Okay, so it is turn number 1. So we're going to go ahead and we've got these paratroopers here. I'm not going to fly them further in. I could theoretically, you know, send them up here toward Antwerp to take the city by themselves, but I would be really worried about what the enemy might have in terms of aircraft. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and I'm going to drop my troops behind Ibn Amal and attempt to reduce the fort that way. We'll move both those troops to the west here, so neither one of them is on a river hex. They are both encircled, but that's where we're at right now. Newtfish, thank you for the follow as well. All right, so we're going to move these troops to Liege itself. Apparently, you can't drop your paratroopers and attack on the same turn, so that sucks, but that's just the reality. All right, so we'll move this armored unit south of Liege, and they're going to move toward Huey? I don't know. And this city looks like it's open, so they may take this city for a little bit of a prestige bonus and then drive on Namur as they kind of flank the main Dutch position. We'll move this armor as well. We're going to move all our armor along the southern edge of the river just because there is no, you know, we can move much more quickly here. They're on the open ground, open terrain. We'll keep our infantry along the river itself, and we'll go ahead and we'll bombard these troops. All right, so we're hitting the northern and southern cities at the same time. We're going to go ahead and use our Stukas here to attempt to reduce these troops. It says they're going to inflict 3 casualties. That's pretty heavy. We'll also use these overstrength fighters to strafe this enemy artillery here. Artillery fires in support of defenders, so obviously anything we can do to reduce them, the better. We'll also go ahead and have our strategic bombers bomb this airfield. It looks like there might be an air unit in the base. It has a number 5 with a hangar, so I'm assuming there's a air unit there. Maybe not though, not quite sure. So we'll move this other fighter unit here. I'm gonna have a fighter adjacent to each of our bombers, so hopefully that prevents the enemy from being able to overrun us. All right, so we'll move up here. We'll go ahead and attack Liege directly. You saw the enemy artillery to the rear of Liege did fire in support. But we actually drove the enemy out of the city there. So we didn't take Liege, but because I don't have any units that can take Liege. And now actually they were driven into our armor, so I can go ahead and attack them again and force them to surrender. Nice. So we destroyed the enemy infantry unit that was in Liege. We should be able to walk into the city next turn unopposed, or if they move the artillery in there, quickly overwhelm it. Meanwhile, in the south, we'll go ahead and attack toward Maastricht. We did not succeed there. But we inflicted heavy casualties there. And I can't attack the fort till next turn. Also, it doesn't look like I can... I'm not sure. It look like I can do anything with those paratroopers to the north. If I hadn't moved the 16th off the river, I could have moved them into Liege and taken the city. But next turn, they're overstrength, so their goal is going to be to reduce that fort to nothing. Alright, so all my air units moved, all my troops in the south moved, so let's move north. Looks like there's one enemy garrison unit here at Roermond. So move our infantry forward here. We'll move the armor to the... Well, actually, let's just do this. Let's move the artillery in. We'll hit the enemy with artillery that reduces their strength. Now we get a 72 odds. The results are actually 8-3. So now I can move the armor into the city and exploit the breakthrough. Take the city, drive them back further, and hopefully next turn I can finish off that infantry here. We really blew through the 11th Netherlands infantry there. Okay, so that was a good start to the turn. We'll wait to see what happens next turn. We got a nice little bump of prestige as well. That fort did inflict some pretty heavy casualties on us. The artillery tried to fire into our flank. Enemy air units coming here to strafe our artillery. That's a little bit suicidal, sir. You're the 31st MS-406 Squadron, which I believe is a French fighter squadron. But by moving that far in advance, now we can attack them. And because we chose to overstrength our fighter units, we can get a much better result. If we had been 10 versus 10, the results would have been in our favor because we had, well, actually, maybe not even because we didn't have the experience. I think our fighter is still slightly better, but we certainly would not have had a 6-1 if it wasn't a 15 versus 10 air battle. So there you can see we inflicted 6 casualties against him, lost 2 of our own. We'll move our veteran fighter unit of 12 strength in, and it's a 4-0. They shoot him down and destroy that enemy fighter unit, so that was a good result for us. Meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and move. I don't know if I want to use my Stuka. We'll use this guy against the airfield to destroy that enemy unit so we don't have to attack it. We'll use this Stuka here. I probably, honestly, would have rather not used my tactical air at all because my fighters are now back here. Actually, no, my fighters can move. Yes! Well, that one can anyway because he didn't move. So this fighter's kind of in the front, hopefully acting as a guard against any potential enemy fighters that may come and attack us. The reason I'm worried is if enemy fighters move in here and attack this Stuka, my fighter will intercept them and greatly reduce the effectiveness of the attack. These guys, however, don't have a fighter adjacent to them, so they're more of a sitting duck. All right, so these paratroopers... All right, so we'll attack there. We took Liege, drove the enemy artillery back. We'll move our tank over the river there. And we overran the enemy as well. But we overran and defeated that enemy gun. We'll move this guy down here toward Hue. Takes the city. We get 50 prestige. And then we'll move the 14th Panzers to the south here as they approach Namur from the south. So there's an enemy infantry unit in Namur. Alright, so we'll move these guys here. Alright, so we'll bombard these guys with our artillery. This red means they're very heavily suppressed. Almost completely suppressed. So we drove them back. We'll move the other infantry unit in to exploit. And destroyed them. Got them. Alright. So we took Maastricht. We're now across both the Maas and the Meuse. I don't know if I want to attack with that guy. Meanwhile, these troops actually have trucks. So they can drive, and as long as there's a little check mark next to the truck, they'll actually get out of the truck as well. Alright, so we'll go ahead and attack here. I'll take the casualties. I guess the good thing is these paratroopers don't actually... they're not part of our corps, so we don't get to carry them forward unit to unit, or battle to battle. So we nearly finished off these enemy troops. Or this enemy fort. It's down to 1 strength and basically completely suppressed. We'll move one of these false jumpers, these paratroopers, in to take the airfield here. We'll get another 50 prestige, and then we'll finish the fort next turn. Well, I guess I'll bombard it and see if we can finish it with our artillery. Nope. The other thing to keep in mind, again, and I know I've said this in previous streams, but to those of you who might be new to this stream, once you can't attack and then move your air unit. So if you're like if you fly over a base and drop bombs, you can't then have another unit attack the same target. All right, so there we go. We overran the enemy infantry in the north, and again, the way the overrun rule works is if you overrun an enemy, you are actually allowed to attack them again. Okay. And what this little black sort of outline of you've got this lighter area and then the shaded area behind this black line. I've had some people ask if that's like the front line or the supplies. It is not the front line, so it's not like Order of Battle where you've got the front line that represents a static map. This represents line of sight. So you get line of sight off of like bases that you own or units that you have or air units that fly around. So it's generally a bad idea to drive out ahead of your line of sight. You can move faster if you drive out ahead of your line of sight, but you're very likely to run into an ambush, and those things are frickin' deadly. So I've lost like 70 or 80% of a unit in ambushes in Norway. Not fun. All right, so our artillery actually is being powered by horses, which is great because they don't use fuel. Logistics is something that's very difficult for me, like many German generals. But that was a very good result for the turn. We're up to 549 banked prestige. I might buy another unit soon, but for the moment we'll hang on where we're at because I've learned prestige is absolutely valuable. And if I can revert to only using elite reinforcements, I would love to. So move forward to turn number 3. Enemy infantry moving forward here against our armor. Our armor is on a river hex, which has a serious penalty when you're on a river hex. So they actually got about 1-to-1 combat results there. Meanwhile, an enemy recon car south of Namur attacked me. It is now raining, however. It's raining today, and it's going to rain tomorrow, which means that our air power is grounded. That's not good. But we'll go ahead and we'll attack this enemy armored car with our armor to the south of Namur. You can see there we only lost 1 casualty, and we nearly destroyed it, drove it back. So the artillery is going to be doubly important now. All right, we'll finish off the base, the fort, with our airborne troops, and then we'll move these guys north. Gonna keep these infantry moving as far and as fast as we can get them. We can't even rebase them when it's raining, which I understand if you're gonna ground aircraft. I don't agree with the fact that the game doesn't allow you to rebase, however. That seems like overkill. Okay. Move our artillery up so we can bombard these guys. So a -3 on the green Broken Heart. That basically means they're suppressed. Their currently suppression is level 4, which means that even though they have 13 hit points, their actual effective combat is 9 right now. You take the 13 minus the suppression, so only essentially 9 other squads are shooting back. So we'll attack here and there. And then we'll attack these troops here. We've driven them onto the river hex, and we force them to surrender. So sometimes when units have had enough, they will decide to surrender. And so a very good result so far in the start of this campaign. This is based... I mean... Is it based on an early 2000s war game? This is a spiritual modern version of Panzer General. So they made Panzer Corps I in 2012, and that was much more look and feel Panzer General. This doesn't quite look and feel as much Panzer General. It's a 3D version upgrade of Panzer Corps I, which itself was a recreation of Panzer General of the 1990s by SSI. Panzer Corps I in 2012 apparently sold over 1 million units. It was very well received. All right, so it's going to rain again tomorrow, which kind of sucks. It's interesting, too, that the game says there's some variability to weather reports. It says certainty of rain is 100%, but that implies it won't always be 100%, so... All right, so the enemy armor attacked our armored spearhead there. Our artillery will bombard there and then drive them off. So it looks like there is an armored counterattack here with T-15s in front of Antwerp that we've driven back. All right, this city here is unoccupied. So we'll take that. Alright, so there's an enemy anti-aircraft gun down here. We'll get 1 to 5 results there in our attack. So I will... Wow, we got 7 to nothing there. That was a much better than predicted attack. We drove back the enemy anti-aircraft guns. Our armor comes up and then overruns them. Great result for us there. And we're advancing in the north with our infantry primarily. We'll bring our artillery up via their trucks. It is still raining, so I'm assuming that means we can't be bombed either. We'll reinforce these guys with elite reinforcements. It'll cost 65. You'll see green reinforcements cost 35, but we lose 278 experience points of our 1,300. So we'll keep the experience points and spend the money to reinforce with elite reinforcements for both units. If the enemy wants to attack me, great, because that is probably unwise for them. Because the AI doesn't typically do a lot of reinforcing. We're going to need to move our air units forward, by the way. But that's going to do it for turn number 4, so let's move to turn number 5. Hey, HD Sirens. Sirens? That's sirens, isn't it? Alright, so, whoa! Large-scale enemy counterattack here, just north of Namur. They pretty badly beat up my armored formation there. So we'll actually fall back to the airfield. I'm going to try and get my infantry out front as a guard. And it will work. We'll swing these infantry south. So I've now built a wall between them and my armor. So they shouldn't be able to hurt my armor too badly. And then I'm going to start bombarding Namur. We'll also hit this enemy armor. It is now cloudy. Jesus, it's going to be raining again tomorrow. Rainy and muddy. 3 out of 4 days rain is going to make the terrain muddy, which is going to make things difficult from a movement perspective. I can't even reach the front line from my current location, so I'm going to go ahead and fly my Air Force forward. Of course, we're not going to be able to use it next turn, but we're going to fly our Air Force forward to the front. The weather has not cooperated. I'd say my strongest asset at this point is my Air Force, and yet I can't use my Air Force. So anyway, we're rebasing our Air Force since they're all out of range. They'll be at the front lines as soon as the weather clears for us. Alright. So this infantry is going to attack Namur 0 to 6 because they're bombarded. Infantry is much better at attacking cities, by the way, as you might guess. So we took Namur, and then we overran the infantry, and then our armor finished off the enemy armored cars there. And now we're ready to move back across the river with our armor to deal with the enemy armor. I don't want to attack there. Those are not great odds. Just keep moving our troops forward in the north. Bombard this enemy armor here. We'll overrun them and finish them off. So now we're going to drive on Antwerp. And by the looks of it, Antwerp is pretty open. So we're moving on Antwerp. Looks like there's a single British infantry unit here in Antwerp. There is an enemy fighter unit, or actually it's a tactical bomber unit. It's a ferry battle, which is sort of an obsolete, I think it's a 2-seater dive bomber. So this battle is going well. We are on turn 5. We've already taken Liège. We've taken Namur. We are at the gates of... Well, we're not at the gates of Brussels, but we're engaged in a major battle here to the west of Namur, and then we are at the gates of Antwerp up to the north. So we have 3 more objectives to take and 15 turns to take them. And my prestige is almost at 1,000 because I haven't been taking any casualties, other than this one armored unit, which took very heavy casualties. It's going to be a pretty penny to rebuild them. That enemy armored counterattack against us. Enemy armor is attacking our forces to the west of Namur. We took some casualties, but it was a roughly even exchange. Infantry there is getting attacked also, this other infantry unit here. The enemy is attacking with armor and then retreating. This infantry unit here on the front is taking some pretty heavy losses. It's down almost 50%, a little bit over 50%. Another unit down here down almost 50%. Whoa! Enemy dive bombers just obliterated that armored unit up there in the north. I don't know if I have any... God damn it, it still is raining. It's sunny tomorrow. So the enemy used their 1 turn of good weather to pound that armored unit there. I'll use elite reinforcements to get it back. They shouldn't be able to bomb this next turn, so that should be good. Spent a bit of money doing that. We'll reinforce this armored unit down here in the south. 164 prestige just for 5 reinforcement points. Alright, so we can move our artillery up here. We'll bring them in range. We'll try to reduce the effectiveness of this enemy armor by at least softening them up. We'll spend a bunch of again, I probably shouldn't be spending all my points here on elite reinforcements. I literally just said I didn't want to do that. And yet, here I am doing it. So these are French heavy tanks. The Soma was superior to pretty much everything the Germans had in 1940. But it's the only thing I can... so I can only inflict one casualty on an attack against it. Alright, meanwhile, these guys will spend a bunch of money. Again, we had almost 1,000 prestige, so I think we had some money to spend. Move these grenadiers up next turn. We used over half of our prestige this turn. But the weather will clear next turn. Good thing it's not a Char B. I don't know a ton about the 1940s French tanks. We still have 400 points. We still have a little bit of room in our slot. So I'm thinking maybe what we'll do is we'll add another unit here. We can get the Panzer III, which is slightly worse. It's more expensive. It has less ammo than the Panzer 38. It is better on the defensive. Yeah, we'll go with the Panzer III. And I think we'll overstrength it because... Oh, I can't afford to overstrength it. Why not? Oh, overstrengthening it increases its how many core slots it takes up. So we can't overstrength it, but we'll go ahead and purchase it and put it down here. It can't move this turn, but it'll move next turn. Alright, so the enemy attacks us. 3-2, not that bad. Although we're down to 40% strength. The enemy infantry is now attacking us. I really hope that tank... Okay, good. The armor retreated back across the river. Good result there. Smart decision there, sir. More enemy tanks! Oh my god, there's so many of them! Huh! There's 3 more enemy... Ugh. This is a heavy enemy counterattack here. We've got the Renault R35, the Hotchkiss H35, and the Soma S35. Only one of those is a serious danger to us, I think. So we're going to go ahead and use our Stukas against these guys. Actually, these guys can strafe the Soma and do some damage? We probably also want to put some fighters... Ooh, I should have attacked these guys, the ferry battles, but with my other fighter unit to shoot them down, but at least we'll inflict heavy casualties on them. We'll keep moving our infantry to the front up here near Antwerp. We're now maxed out in terms of our units, and these guys are close enough to the front where they can race ahead pretty quickly. Another Renault out here, so they've actually got 4 armored units. That's a heavy fist. Alright, so now we'll hit them with artillery. Alright, so that infantry can actually attack very effectively against those highly suppressed enemy tanks. I'll take 1 to 3. I like those odds. Alright, so we drove them back into the river. We'll go ahead and... Oh, these guys are already attacked. That was stupid of me. Reinforced to full strength. Alright, so I'm using all my prestige on reinforcements. Probably not wise. I don't know if the enemy has any more fighters, so I don't really want to move my bombers up here completely unsupported. I guess I could hit Antwerp. We've got fighters up there, right? So we'll suppress them. Suppression also apparently lasts more than 1 turn. So suppression can last over a couple of turns. They don't instantly get unsuppressed the moment that the next turn. So they maintain... They slowly reduce their suppression over time. Alright, they're moving their Hotchkiss forward against our infantry. They've got some aircraft here strafing our tanks. Some dive bombers here hitting our artillery. Oh my god, there's so many airplanes. Fortunately, none of them are fighters. Or I guess maybe the CR-42 is, but it looks like it's a biplane. Alright, I'm going to take the casualties to get rid of these dive bombers. We'll go 1 to 5 against these French bombers. Oh, actually, we got 6. Nice. Alright. Yeah, they must be fighters, because if I try and bomb something adjacent to them, we lose heavy casualties. So I should keep my units close in. Can I do this without? Alright, so our Panzer III will go against him, drive him back. Alright, so we're driving the enemy infantry back there. I'm just looking to destroy these guys. So we got them. This armor will come forward and take a few casualties against this enemy. Maybe I should move my air unit over here. I just really don't want to expose myself to enemy fighters. I mean, I'll take 1-to-1 losses at this point, with as well as this battle's been going. King Super Cool, thanks for the follow. Alright. 4, 2, 3, 1. Let's actually attack their artillery first. These guys are... Oh, those are mountain troops. I probably should have used real reinforcements for them. In any event... Move these guys here. We'll move the artillery into range. Then over here. I think maybe the one thing we will use, because they didn't seem to care about it, and it's cheap, and I don't care if I replace them with rookies, is our strategic bombers. Someone was telling me to replace my strategic bombers with Stukas, but to be honest, the strategic bombers, I think they found a nice balance in this game with how to use them. Because they aren't good at killing large numbers of troops, but they're very good at suppressing the enemy. And that is something that I think is often too neglected in terms of people's valuing. Suppression is incredibly important in the way this game is built, and artillery is very good at it, and strategic bombers are as well. Alright, so we'll move through the next turn. The enemy's going to continue attacking east here against our armor. I mean, I'm happy on 1-to-1 trades, because as soon as I clear the skies, my Stukas are going to feast on the enemy tanks. And the enemy never seems to reinforce either. I think it may just be the way some of these early scenarios are designed. The scenario briefing also said the enemy was not going to have many reinforcements because of our attack through Sedan. Okay, so they did attack our armor in the north. Was that this? Oh, there's the Char B1, by the way, the heavy tank you were talking about. Ha! Attack it for 4 losses without any kills? I don't think so. Okay, so the enemy fighters... Where did they go anyway? They're probably in the Brussels airfield? No? Well, that was stupid. Oh, they're over here. Damn it, I wish I could undo my attack. In any event, I'll go attack them. I think given that that's the only enemy fighter we know about, and they're somewhat occupied, I'm going to go ahead and use my tactical air now this turn. We'll attack the enemy Renault in the front line, and then we'll also attack the Char 1B. We can't weaken them enough to really attack them, but we can let's... None of these are non-core units. Alright, let's bombard these guys. Nice, we took Antwerp. Our armor drove the enemy out, and then our infantry came up here and worked on the enemy again. So we took Antwerp. We get the prestige for that. Next turn we can take the... I probably could this turn, but I don't want to expose my artillery to infantry attack. Take the airfield, get a little bit more prestige there. We're about halfway through, and I'm feeling pretty good about this, other than this major armored battle down here in the south that's sapping a lot of our strength. I didn't even use my artillery here. I completely forgot about it. I think we'll swing our artillery up to the north to help break through this river line. And we'll go ahead and bombard these guys on the south. Right, we'll attack through the forest here. Finish off that armored unit. So we got one of the 4 armored units we've seen. This is part of our advance on Magdeburg here in the south, too. It's hard not to be pretty happy with the results that we're getting so far. Alright, let's suppress these guys with our strategic bombers. So these guys should be ineffective. The only one that's going to be effective next turn is maybe the Char 1. But it's also at 70% strength, so we started having some success there. Meanwhile, the enemy attacks out of their city toward our troops on the river line there. We took some pretty heavy casualties, but again, anytime we're on the defensive, we can do okay. I will take that trade. We also were attacked by the enemy artillery. We didn't do any damage there. Alright, so the Renault's coming after our Panzer 38s. The Char's going after our infantry still. That's not too bad. I'll take 3 infantry casualties. Infantry's cheap. King's super cool. This is a preview build, so it's not even the final version. The game comes out in 2 months. It comes out on March 19th. I think they're starting pre-orders in February. I don't know if that gives it you early access or not, but you can't buy it till February, and you can't play it... well... It's not commercially launched anyway until March. Alright, so we shot the enemy fighters down, and then their tactical bombers we damaged, so now I feel really, really safe using these Stukas. I'm really just focusing on this armored fist here in the south of the enemies. So we'll drive these guys back. Apparently this armor has no fuel. So that's great. Alright, let's bombard these guys. I'd like to break through here. Alright, so we broke across the river at Louvain. I'm going to go back to green reinforcements. Oh my god, from 1300 to 400 experience? That's so much of... That's such a huge penalty. Jeez. In any event, we're across the river toward Brussels. Move our self-propelled guns down here. Get the enemy in the flank now. Alright. So let's move forward to turn number 11. I don't think the Brits have any Matildas in this scenario. They're very uninvolved in this scenario. Nice! We destroyed that armored unit. Thank you for the free kill. Ugh. We are taking some casualties now. The battle got off to a really good start. Another enemy armored unit attacked and got itself killed. Don't attack if you don't have good odds. Alright, let's finish this guy off. Or at least get close to it. Go after this enemy anti-tank gun. Pull these guys back. Alright. So we'll go after the char. We destroyed it. Nice. Move our infantry forward here. Overrun them. Drive forward and take this city. So get some prestige there on the road to Magdeburg. I know there's no D there. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Use our artillery to soften the infantry up here in the south. Drove them back without cost. Use our fighters to finish off that guy by strafing. See if our strategic bombers can finish him off. Nope. Fighters are actually pretty good against strafing against certain types of targets. Okay. We'll avoid the river here and move on Brussels from the south with this other armored unit. We're going to move these two units toward Maugberg, or Magbieg, or however you pronounce that. Finish that enemy infantry off in the north. And use these guys out of Antwerp, potentially to take other objectives to get more prestige. So we'll let him sit there. I think that does it for turn number 11 as we move toward turn number 12. Alright, so they attacked us there, but all they did was some suppression damage. It's cloudy, but not rainy. Alright, so let's use our artillery first against these guys. Do we want to use our strategic bombers, or... We'll use our tactical bombers there to soften them up a little bit. Weather affects air very much. It is a huge... Let's use our fighters to scout. Oh, nice. So we'll finish off that last enemy. I think it's the last enemy air unit. We'll move our infantry here. So there's only one infantry unit in this city. We'll move our armor up from the south to flank and attack the enemy artillery before we attack the actual city. Meanwhile, our aircraft did finish off that enemy ground unit, so now we can move forward here and attack this enemy artillery. We've now created a pocket here. You can see the zone of control in green of the enemy. Alright, so we get a 2 to 4. We drove them back. Our infantry will pursue. Actually, we inflicted 6 casualties there. And then we forced these guys to surrender. So we took another city, got a little bit more prestige. Now we'll move our arty up toward Brussels. So we'll pound Brussels with our artillery and air next turn. These troops have basically no experience, so I'll use a little bit of green replacements on them. And actually I'm going to start... Oh, I can't hit Maubig yet. But I can hit Brussels. with our strategic bombers. Okay, so overall I think we're doing okay. I don't want to run into any surprises in the north. My armor there isn't probably strong enough to take that last objective. But I think that almost does it for the turn. So just Brussels and one other objective still to take. The enemy infantry, surprisingly enough, attacks out. That is a pretty bloody attack there. 5 casualties for us. But they don't have the manpower to take... Oh, more armor. Fucking A. I was going to say they really don't have the strength to keep taking these kind of losses. And they don't. You know, that result doesn't change the fact that they really don't. So it'll probably be one more turn before we can take the city. Just because of that counterattack by that armor. But I mean, look at that. I can inflict 4 casualties on the enemy there. I'm going to move this armor west as well. Alright. So we'll take the 1 to 2. Where's he going to retreat to? West? Yeah. We'll take that airfield, get a little bit of prestige for it, and then we'll force the enemy armor to surrender. So there goes their armored fist there. Meanwhile, I can spend some points reinforcing these units. Okay. Alright, so some of my units are still under strength. That's something to be mindful of. In this case, I don't actually have any hope of doing much damage, but I will gladly strafe just to get the experience. All my troops can use experience. Okay. So we'll move forward to turn number 14. Only sunny weather in sight. That attack by the enemy was much less effective. 4 casualties for them, only 2 inflicted on us. Pretty bloody battle there in the south. Alright. So our artillery is going to start softening up Brussels itself. We're going to turn it into a crater land. Got our mobile artillery moving in as well. 1 to 3, 3 to 2, 4 to 4. I'll take the 1 to 3. Nice, and we drove the enemy out. So we drove them back. Move our infantry in there. Hopefully the enemy attacks us next turn and we shoot back. Meanwhile, I can use my Stukas up here to chase the enemy. Those guys aren't going to do any damage. And then next turn I'll hit these secondary targets with artillery. No sense in taking the casualties now. Okay. Reinforce him to full strength. And him to full strength. So we're almost back to full strength all around. We still have 1 objective left in the south. We still have 5 days to do it. Flying along compared to last night. Indeed, Coffee. Man, those guys in the south just don't want to quit. All right, so maybe strategic bombers there? Suppress them? Spend the bulk of my money reinforcing there. I should get prestige when I retake that airfield. There's one enemy armed infantry unit here, an engineer unit. I'd like to give these guys a truck and race them west. Alright. So let's hit this enemy anti-tank gun. I'll take 1 to 3. Alright, I don't have enough money to do any of that stuff, so we'll go have our Stuka finish this guy off. Yeah, I can't even reach that last airbase, so I'll rebase to here, to the very front of the line. We'll go ahead and move forward to the next turn. So the enemy artillery still fighting in the outskirts of Brussels. Meanwhile, the enemy infantry shifted its attack to our armor south of the city in open ground. What are you doing? That was foolish. Alright, so I'll take that for the extra prestige. It's cloudy. I'll take the suppression, I guess, because I won't get anything with the Stuka. 1 to 6, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. So we'll take the 1 to 6. Should drive him out. No, actually killed him. Can't take the city, though. These guys already moved, so we'll have to wait till next turn. Alright, so hit them with air first. We'll go ahead and hit these guys with arty. I don't really want to take casualties if I don't have to. So maybe I just won't even do that. Why can't I reinforce these guys? I could put these guys on naval transports, but that wouldn't do much good. I'm not going to worry about the casualties taking these British engineers out at the edge of the map. Not worth it. Meanwhile, this armor is not worth the extra expense because they're just too green anyway. As I work to get my units back up to full strength. 4 suppression, but no KIAs. I'm wondering if this just means I'm going to take suppression casualties. Let's try it. Let's see. So artillery's going to fire in defense. Ah, we took an actual honest to goodness casualty. I'm thinking it's just expecting suppression though. Yep, that was only suppression. I mean, I'm happy to take, you know, free experience and kill enemy units. I don't know why I can't reinforce that artillery, though. Alright, so there's 2 there. Let's use a Stuka to finish it off. Or maybe not quite, but still more experience. You know, the enemy troops down here are out. They're dead. Alright, so those are all reinforced. These guys are almost reinforced. Nothing left to bomb. So we're almost at 100% strength. A couple of units are slightly under strength, but I imagine I will get enough experience for the victory to counter that out. And this looks like a pretty easy victory. Niembla, I really enjoy it so far. It's early. Only put a few hours into it. Oh, I forgot to take the actual city. All right, so I guess, you know, that would be an interesting way to cheat, is if you don't get extra... I don't know, the game isn't super clear, but if you don't get extra experience for winning battles early, which maybe you do, I don't know, but if you don't get experience for winning battles early, that would be a pretty interesting hack to intentionally not win early. So you get the, you know, the extra experience between turns. Going back to spend my leftover experience to get those guys back over strength. All right. We'll take the objective. And we get a victory in Belgium. So that's a good victory for us, and we mostly maintain the experience that we gained. Granted, we still doesn't look like we have anything more than 1 star. Our Sturmpanzer actually was the most effective combat unit. Didn't lose any casualties, and it inflicted 88 points cost on the enemy in terms of efficiency. The 8th Ju-88 inflicted 1,754 points worth of killed casualties. That is impressive. I wish you could sort these. It doesn't let me click a button to sort. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Another victory in our Panzer Corps II German campaign. The next episode will be looking at the battle for Dunkirk, but that'll be for another time. So as always, this is the Historical Gamer once again saying thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.